This episode of Tea with Jules is proudly brought to you by The Home. You can shop any of the items you see in this episode at thehome.com.au. Jane Lou from Showpo.com. Thank you so much for joining me today for a cup of tea.
Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to talk to you actually. But my first question, because this is Tea with Jules, is do you drink tea? Are you a tea drinker?
Yes, I drink. I'm Chinese, so I've grown up drinking a lot of tea with my family, like jasmine tea, and I don't even know the names of it, but every time you go to Yum Cha, it's all about drinking tea.
Oh my gosh, I love Yum Cha.
My parents don't, like, they're still, I mean, we've been in Australia for 21 years. They still don't drink tap water because I'm still trying to convince them tap water is good for you. They just drink lukewarm water and tea.
Really?
So whenever I'm with my family, I drink a lot of tea.
Okay. Well, you're in the right place. We've got White Delight tea.
Sounds
so
awesome.
I'm actually going to have some, yeah. Because cheers, welcome.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
To the couch.
It smells so good.
That is good.
I just did the biggest slurp.
Would your parents approve of that? I hope they would. I feel the pressure now.
Yeah. No, it's really good.
Good. Now, Jane, you're a bit of a legend. You're a bit of an overachiever, I'm going to call it.
Oh.
You are the founder and the CEO of Showpo.com, which is an online fashion destination.
Yeah.
Affordable fashion, which I love.
Right.
But you've won every award there is to win. You've made the Forbes Asian 30 under 30 list, 2016.
Great. I just made it for the conference.
Wow.
I was 29 and 11 months.
Oh,
just
wow.
when they announced it. Yeah, it was great.
See, doesn't matter. You're still
Just in time.
under 30,
Yeah.
and that is a major achievement. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And you've just grown this business into what it is right now, which is a pretty successful business.
Yeah, it's crazy. Sometimes I pinch myself.
Yeah. Can you take me back and tell me a little bit about your story and how this all happened?
Yeah. So, well, I actually used to be an accountant and a business analyst with big four accounting companies. Growing up, always thought I was going to get into that business finance world, just because it's kind of like a secure job. And as immigrants, my parents just like honed that into me from a young age. And like when I was 18, I got a job in these companies, and I thought I was like so on track to getting a good corporate career. And then after I started, I realized that I hated it, and it just wasn't for me. And I was just thought, how could this be my life? So I kind of made this one bold move and thought, you know what, the first bold move was I'm going to go overseas and just like try and figure things out. Went overseas, spent all the time drinking, not really figuring anything out, but came back and couldn't adjust back to being in a cubicle. And a lot of it was just travel withdrawals. I didn't know what I was going to do. But then at that time, one of my friends asked me if we wanted to start a business together. And it was not a good business idea at all, and we would have never made it work. But I was just so excited by it, and I hated my work job so much that I used it as an excuse to quit. And then a month later, my business partner said that she didn't want to do it anymore. So all of a sudden, I had no job. My business had failed. I was in debt, and this is all in the middle of the global financial crisis. So you couldn't just go get another job even if you wanted to. So I had to do something else. So I met this other girl who also wanted to start an online store. So we just had dinner, drank too much wine, and just thought, let's start a business together. And we just did it. And it was pretty funny because the first 6 months, because I wasn't working, but I was still living at home, I would pretend to go to work. So I put on my suit, I'll carry around the empty laptop bag and get the bus into the city with my mom and just like fake it till you make it.
So you're sitting on the bus with your mum and she thinks you're going to a corporate job?
Yeah.
And you were just getting off and going and
going to like the state library for a bit, go to cafes to work, and just like, and then we
all
started
the while working on this business.
Yeah.
When did you tell your parents?
It wasn't until 2 years later because I wanted to be like really certain.
So for 2 years you did that?
No, 6 months, and then I moved out.
Okay.
And then which is good. We we never had the let's move in together talk. I just showed up because I'm like, I'm just not going to, I don't want to live at home.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And so when they eventually found out that you were doing this, what were their feelings?
Well, they knew I was doing it, but they thought I was doing it as like a side business. And by that stage, they already like, they were helping me like pack returns in the warehouse. And so they I think they had an inkling, but I never really publicly said it until I was very certain. And they're like very proud now. My mom's like, my mom tells everyone. My dad's like, shh, don't tell people. don't show up. They're very different personalities.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So such a mum thing though. You're just
Yeah.
so proud of your kids. You just want to tell everyone what they're up to.
Yeah.
That's so great. And so how, when you were with this girl who wanted to start a business, did you have a vision, or you just wanted to start a business? You knew that much?
Yeah,
And
no,
that's all
I
you knew?
didn't even have a vision. Like, the thing that was driving me back then wasn't even necessarily business success. It was just, I wanted to prove people wrong. Like, because everyone, when I quit my job, everyone told me I was being an idiot. And then when my, business failed, some people were like, told you so.
Right.
And then so I was just like, I just want to prove a point.
Yeah.
And then it just grew beyond that. So
How did you actually physically start it? So it's clothes, accessories, shoes, some homeware stuff in there as well. What?
So this girl that I got into business with, she had a contact with a wholesaler. So we bought stock on consignment. So I didn't have any money. I was in so much debt already. So bought stock on consignment, which meant that we didn't have to pay for it until after it sold. So got the stock, found some friends who took photos as a favor, found a model who will model for free clothes.
Great.
And then just took photos. I built a website by myself by Googling HTML.
You're kidding.
It didn't look great. It was a big cartel website. It was like $20 a month to host it. It was just, everything was so lean and cheap. And we had 40 styles. Now we've got over like 1,000, almost 2,000 styles. So it just kind of incrementally grew. And, even with that first website, the one that it cost nothing and I built by myself, it wasn't until we were already doing like $100,000 a month until we spent $700 on another website. So everything's been like very like baby steps.
Yep. You won't spend it until you've made it type thing.
Yeah, and testing everything before making a big commitment.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And it's just grown. So where do you think that tipping point is where you are a struggling small business into, whoa, okay, now we've got some cash, we've got people that love our stuff and followers and fans and, people that are posting on Instagram and all of that sort of thing. When did you kind of realize, okay, this is actually happening?
Well, I think the first sense of security, because my goal for a while was to also make sure I don't go back into an accounting job. And so when we first got a warehouse, to look at all that stock and actually feel like, okay, worst case scenario, I can sell this stock off. We're fine. We'll be safe. There's no going back to accounting now.
Okay.
So that was a great moment of realization. And I think also when we started hiring teams of and putting in systems, so even sometimes hiring people, I'm not the person hiring and I'm introduced to the person that we hired. I think that's I'm like,
yeah,
wow, we're a legit business.
Yeah, you've got
Just
a team that
little
takes care of it.
Yeah.
So
And
great.
and sometimes I get people who come to me and they tell me that their parents don't support what they're doing and they've used my story to kind of convince their parents, and that's just one of the coolest things. I can't believe it, because that's something I would do to, if back in the day, to try and convince my parents.
Yeah. Look at
do
this
what I
person.
want.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you're the queen of this castle. You're the boss. You're the person that the whole 35 people are looking to for, their guidance. What do you think makes you a good leader?
Ooh.
Have some tea.
Yeah, tea break. Honestly, I think I'm still learning this myself. I just never even thought I had leadership skills. Even in high school, I remember we had peer support leadership program, and half the grade was allowed to do it, and I was in that half that didn't, seem to embody leadership skills. So I just always assumed that I wasn't someone that did. Point is, I'm still learning as I go, but I think a lot of it is about hiring really great people and then letting them do their thing. And what's really hard, I think, to go from someone who's a startup entrepreneur, back when you're the person that knows everything, to move from that to being someone who doesn't need to know what's going on all the time. I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm a phony if I don't know what's going on, but it's being able to like know when to ask for help and not like just kind of, I think, being okay to like not be the smartest person in the room in that sense, I guess.
I think that's a very humble way to approach it because, I mean, sometimes you're not the smartest person in the room, even though you are the boss of it, because that's why your business is so successful. You can only take it to a certain point, and then you've got to hand it over to someone who can build an amazing website because you don't have all those skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have certain skills that they don't have, so it's like that's where the team work comes into it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think, like, judging from, you know, everything I see on social and YouTube and all the rest of it, everyone looks like they're having the best time ever. And so on that, because you don't get to be where you are now without a lot of hard work and a little bit of grime, and it's not all glitz and glamour, even though it is pretty clothes and shoes. It's definitely not all that. Give us the nitty gritty. What's it really like? Like if we're like in the office, it's going to be, you know, packing boxes, unpacking boxes, making sure orders are
I
there
have to be
on
honest,
time.
like that's how I used to think. I used to always say the fashion business or startup life is not glamorous because when I first started, it was. I remember I would have to carry bags of clothes and I would get a bus because I can't afford anything else, and I would be carrying bags of clothes, and you know, if we're not going to get our orders on time, it's all hands on deck. Everyone's packing and like everyone's getting stuff done. But honestly, we're at a point where it is kind of, I'm experiencing the more fun side where, you know, before I was looking at so many things to do with marketing, looking at numbers and just things that are like so complicated that there's so much pressure to not get it wrong. But now we have an amazing head of marketing who's doing that, and we're actually at this stage where it is I am actually enjoying the funner things, and I can start like delegating because I put in people in place to do those roles. And the one thing that I think that you can't delegate for someone else to do is to be the face of the company and to, you know, to be the ambassador for our brand. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on more now, and that's like
the fun
this is
side.
so much fun.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of I mean, that's 7 years of the hard slog.
Yeah.
That now you're kind of reaping the relaxing rewards a little bit.
I mean, I remember back in the day, we had this Christmas sale back when we used to have like a pop-up store, and we made $16,000 in a day. So I was holding $10,000 of cash. Like, I would not catch taxis if I could walk because you save money where you can. I remember walking through Hyde Park at 10 p.m. just being like, because I just didn't want to spend $12 on a taxi, because you want to save every dollar you have, because it could be the make or break of your business, because my business was not in a position to really get a loan or investors. So it was all I had.
Yeah.
And I remember like at 3 a.m. walking home late at night through Piedmont on the night out, I had a bag of flyers. So I'm like, well, I might as well flyer drop. Like, you're constantly hustling. So I'm like flyer dropping in the middle of the night. And just, you're constantly on. And now I have to kind of remind myself to like switch off and put an opportunity cost to my time and energy. It's almost like a reverse thinking.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's a really cool way to look at it, because I get what you're saying. It's those days where it's like you said, make or break. This $12 could make or break my week. And you just have to get down and serious and do it. What about personally? Like, we know you've got business covered. You've shown that you can achieve things in business. What about personally? What do you feel like in your personal life you feel accomplished when XYZ?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important things in my life are my family, my parents. I mean, they gave up so much for me. They gave up everything they knew to immigrate here. And now I could they don't have to stress. Like, they don't have to stress about money. And it's just, I can't believe I can offer that to them. So I think that's just such a good feeling to have, because I just think that was never something I thought I could have given them back with my corporate job. And I think just having in my relationship with my boyfriend, having that stable partner, like back when we first met, I was one with a stable income and he was a student. And then when my business failed and I was being in startup life and being so poor, he was working as an investment banker. And so he was like raking it in. And then we've definitely already been through it's so many stages, and we've grown so much. And I think that's just really important. And someone who's been there through the entire journey with me.
Well, I've been with my husband for 17 years,
Wow,
I think it is.
yeah.
So exact same story, like before any of this whole, lights, camera, action was happening in our lives. We've known each other for that long. So you get each other, and you understand where they come from and their family and how they were brought up, and how they've navigated their lives. So it's very special.
And it keeps you grounded, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very special. Hold on to him.
Yeah.
What about, because I always look at business people like yourself and I think, oh, they're so fearless. They're not afraid of anything. Are you afraid of things?
Oh, yeah. I used to have this massive fear of failure because I went to a selective school, which is quite academic and competitive. So I grew up with this mentality of, if you don't think you'll succeed, don't try, don't enter, so
Right.
I grew up never entering the sports carnival because I thought it was
Right.
and I wouldn't I wouldn't try out for debating because I'm I don't think I'm as good. And so I had that mentality, and now having had business failure and realizing it wasn't that bad, and realizing how that's really helped me learn and grow. So I've kind of become more fearless, but I'm still definitely not a fearless person. I think I'm still quite risk averse, and where I make a lot of risky decisions, people think I'm being very fearless, but sometimes I feel like I'm just being naive, and sometimes I'm just very I really want the thing that I want, that I'm just overlooking the risks.
Right.
And it's just because I'm ooh, this big shiny thing's being dangled at me. I'm well, let's just go do it because
you just want it.
I just want it that bad. Yeah.
Well, that's sometimes a better way to be, I think, than looking at all the analytics and trying to figure out how it's going to all end up. Sometimes you just don't know.
Yeah.
You didn't know that Showpo was going to do this.
No.
And you gave it a red hot go. And I think that's that says something for sure.
Yeah. And I think sometimes everyone will nothing's going to work out perfectly for anyone, and everyone's going to have setbacks and failures, and it's just those that push themselves further and keep pushing themselves and learn from their mistakes. And I think a lot of times when people, they have failure after failure because they're not taking away the learnings from those failures, and maybe blaming external factors and not finding the core issue for why something failed. So I don't know.
No, that's
Got
really
deep.
good.
I don't know.
That's really good advice. It's really good advice. And two, I think sometimes if you fail, then you give up, and then you really never know what will happen. And that's the worst thing you can do, is just to stop trying.
Yeah.
I just keep trying things. That's my philosophy. Just give it a go. You just never know.
Some people ask why did you how did you start another business when your first business failed? And it wasn't an option for me to not prove that I could make it happen.
Yeah.
So I was just going to keep trying. Yeah.
You go, girl. So determined. Love it. Now, Jane, if you could refine it down to 3 top tips for our viewers on building a successful brand and business, what would they be?
So I think most importantly is that you have to make sure that the business model works. So with my first business that failed, we were we're going to make this work, we're going to be passionate. But at the end of the day, the business model didn't make sense. So no matter how much money you put into it, no matter how much PR you could get, how much passion and hard work, it was just never going to work. So the most important thing is to make a business model work, and then I think it's all about having good marketing to make it scale, and then having great people to make it scale even further. And I think that's what I've learned through this whole Showpo journey. And I think number 2 would be to not have FOMO, because I had to learn that the hard way, because there was a period where there was just so many businesses having a very similar vibe at the time, I thought, to Showpo. And so we would look at, what they're doing. And ever since, I've just unsubscribed to the emails. I've just of course you draw inspirations from all over social media, whatever, but we just focus on what we wanted to do, and that was when we just really shot up. So I think just really focusing on your vision, but that vision, you don't need to have that from day one, because I certainly didn't. it took a
figures
few years
itself
to,
out. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. And just so we're going to clarify, FOMO is fear of missing out,
Yes.
because that is such a thing, I think, for just not even businesses, but for individuals who are looking at other people thinking, oh, I wish I was doing that. I wish I had that. I wish I could be better like them, or comparing yourself constantly to what somebody else has. And social media is like the most insane, thing that for insecurity.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important to just focus on yourself and what you're good at and your strengths, and focusing on that. And then everything else fades into the distance, and you're so right. You don't have time to think about what everyone else is doing.
Exactly.
So glad you said that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, number 3.
Okay, number 3. I think also, just in terms of the investing, like never invest more than what you're willing to lose. I think you don't. So many times we're like, oh, we're going to do this. It's going to make so much money. It's going to work and blah, blah, blah. And it just doesn't. So you have to make sure those business decisions don't bankrupt the business. But I think a lot of times, like people, when they start businesses, they think they know what their customers want, and they spend so much on inventory. And then when they do realize what their customers actually want, that inventory is sitting there dead, and they don't have money to invest more into like
what the
stuff
customer
that
wants. Yeah. Okay, wow, good tips. And if we can quickly just touch on social media, which isn't really a quick topic, but so how important is social media to your business?
It's so important for us. Social media is probably the main reason that I was able to build this business bootstrapped, just by being a Facebook addict myself, able to grow the brand. And now it's all about Instagram, but it's just, it's such a big part of our business because we're selling so much internationally, and we're not even actively doing anything just because of Instagram and Facebook.
Because you have 1 million followers on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, I remember when we were like maybe 2 years ago at 300,000 followers, and we were just like, we weren't getting the likes, and I was like, oh my God, like, and I'm just like, you know what? Like, Facebook changed the algorithm, and everyone thought Facebook was dead. I was like, maybe Instagram will die soon. There'll be like a new thing, and then we'll wait for that, and then own that, because I can't make Instagram work. And the thing that really helped me was actually I started my own personal account, and having not many followers, everything I did, I could see the impact of it so much more clearer.
Right.
So it helped me understand how the algorithm kind of worked.
You can see what works on a lower scale.
Yeah.
Great. That's good advice too.
Yeah.
Love that. I'm going to try that. Jane, this has been so nice. I feel like I've learned so much just from chatting with you.
Yes.
It's been really, really nice to hear like the back end of Showpo and how that's all kind of worked. And congratulations on everything. It's so amazing to see your business is booming. I love it. And hilarious that you told me earlier that you actually don't have a passion for fashion.
No.
It's not your thing.
No, it's not my
which is
thing.
so ironic.
Yeah, no, I never like grown up to be I actually did think I was fashionable back then, but now that when Facebook memory pops up with 5 years ago you wore this, I'm like, oh my God, I'm definitely not fashionable. And then looking at all the girls that work in our team and how fashion savvy they are, and so these youngins are they're giving me the illusion to everyone else that I'm fashionable, which is great, but it's not for me, I love business and I love marketing and I love social media.
Yep. Okay. And the passion for fashion will grow.
Yeah.
Well, you look great.
Thank you.
Thanks again, and let's talk soon.
Yay. Thanks for having me.